150 injured Libyans have fled fighting in the western city of Misrata aboard a humanitarian ship. The victims of the ongoing clashes were transported to the rebel stronghold of Benghazi. Well, we can now cross live to our correspondent Paula here to get the very latest. Paula, how has the front line shifted overnight?
Well, what we're witnessing is that the fighting here on the ground seems to be located in two primary cities. In the east of the country, it's around the city of Brega, where pro- and anti-Gaddafi forces have been fighting it out for weeks now. But that front line keeps shifting, and at the moment it's actually not clear who is in control of the city of Brega. In the last 6 weeks, that city has changed control 6 times. So it just gives you a sign of how quickly that front line is moving. In the west of the country, most of the fighting is happening in and around the town of Misrata. And there we are hearing that the government has stepped up efforts to eliminate anti-Gaddafi supporters. Now, we do know that a Turkish humanitarian ship has taken 250 patients, civilian casualties, to the city of Benghazi. Doctors on board that ship are saying that the injuries are incredibly severe and that the civilian death count is likely to climb. Now, over the weekend, there was a request from NATO to the United States to extend its participation in these airstrikes for another 48 hours. That deadline expires today, Monday, with the U.S. increasingly saying that it wants to withdraw from the operations as the President, Barack Obama, comes under increasing criticism from within his own administration. The sense on the ground, though, more and more, is that there is a stalemate being reached, which is why people here are looking for some kind of political solution to get them out of the sword.
Well, Paul, as the battle for control seems to have reached a stalemate, what measures are both sides taking to change the Libyan situation?
Well, we certainly have witnessed an increase in diplomatic activity on behalf of the Gaddafi regime. In the most recent attempt, a former Libyan prime minister has headed a Libyan envoy to the Greek city of Athens, and there he's been holding talks to try and seek a way out of this crisis. We know that this week that envoy will be traveling to Malta and to Turkey. What we are hearing is that Gaddafi might be open to some kind of settlement plan, but that plan would see someone from his inner circle taking over power. It is interesting, though, because when I'm here in Tripoli and I'm talking to officials, they are all tight-lipped about any kind of settlement deal. People here simply refusing to believe or even entertain the idea that Gaddafi could be seeing some kind of way out of all of this. And certainly when you talk to protesters here, they are just completely aghast at the suggestion that Gaddafi would ever betray them, which is essentially how they would see any kind of settlement plan. We are also hearing more voices from the international stage, though, that if a plan is to be reached, it has to include Gaddafi stepping down. Now, in the rebel-held stronghold of Benghazi, there have been talks between key opposition members and members of the British administration. Their main question at the moment is the whole question of whether or not to supply the rebels with weapons, and also the British have been trying to find out information about exactly who these opposition fighters are. We continuously hear these reports that there are suspicions that there are Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah members among their ranks. So those talks trying to determine who, how, and a way forward in terms of cooperation between the coalition and the opposition. There is also alarming concerns about the fact that the rebel fighters themselves are disorganized. They have admitted that in a recent coalition airstrike that killed 13 rebel fighters, that was actually their fault.